What is up, you guys? It is Jake State Farm here with Atomic Theory, bringing you another Atomic Chess video. And for today's video, we are going to be doing some Guess the ELO Atomic Chess Edition. So we've got a bunch of games here. I'll probably go over at least 3, as many as maybe 5, just depending on how long they take here. But some people in my Discord server submitted some games, and I'm going to be going over these games. I'm not allowed to use the engine, and I'm not allowed to use the database. And my goal for this video is I'll be guessing the rating for both players after I go over the game. And I'd say my main goal that I've set for myself is to try to get within 600 points total of the be less than 600 points off combined. So say, both players are rated 2300 and I guess 1900 for both of them. Of course I can guess 1900 for one and say 1800 for the other one. Well, then that would be way more than 600 points off. And so my goal is just to be at least within 600 points for every single one. And I'll go ahead and say at every time somebody participates, features in one of my videos, I give them some server coins for the Discord server. If I'm more than 600 points off on one of your submissions, then I'll double what I normally give you, just because why not make it interesting. But anyway, that's the goal for the video. Let's hop right in. I'll kind of be doing some analysis as well as I go through these, and I have not looked at any of these yet, so these will be completely new to me. And already, as we see here, this is a very common two knights line: e3, e6, and knight d4. This seems pretty high level, especially this move h5. Again, I can't pull up the database, but I feel like this is, I know there is a rule that you can't use your own games, and this is one that was submitted by Wolfram. I'm sure that he saw that, but I want to say he plays this line, or maybe it's Vlad. I know Vlad plays c6. I've studied this before, and there's some top player that always likes to go h5 here, but I can't remember who it is off the top of my head. Okay, wow, bishop a6 is strange, but it's not necessarily wrong. I don't know what I would do here instead. It's just a strange move, because I'm immediately thinking you could have gone b takes a6 and then potentially gone bishop a6 and tried to cut off this diagonal. So it's definitely strange. It's already kind of a weird position. I actually like this move h5 and this move bishop b4, to be honest. Okay. No, so the whole idea with pawn h5 is that you can develop your knight and already have this h-pawn pushed out just to gain a little bit of space, cut off g4 ideas. So kind of opening up knight f5, right? Because there's no e4, you'll just go knight g4. And if you play g4 and takes, then h3, then there's always going to be knight f5 ideas there. So this h5 move makes a lot of sense. It also obviously cuts off the queen, but more so just kind of clamping down on this g4 square. Okay, so far this is exactly pretty much as white. I think if I was going to go into two knights in this particular variation, I'd probably play it just like this, to be honest. Then we've got pawn h4. Interesting. This move makes a lot of sense once again. I mean, I would think knight f5 would be a consideration for me as well, with the idea of knight h4 and knight takes d4, because the material is equal right now. So after knight f5, I don't think g3 ever makes sense. Maybe he's worried about knight e8 with a double attack here, but I don't know. But h4 is the move, and it certainly makes sense. It seems like maybe even a higher level move than I would come up with. Yeah, you gotta go f3, I guess, because otherwise there's knight g4, and if takes, rook comes down, so you can't take. So f3 is very logical. Yeah, I guess rook f2 is probably the best move there as well. Okay, wow, queen e1. Same thing, I guess, just trying to stop knight e2 with bishop c. I mean, all these moves are like queen e1. I mean, I guess if I was trying to come up with a move I would play, maybe it would have been queen e1, but it's still kind of a difficult move to see there. So far, it seems like black is, although white's the one that maybe didn't want a perpetual here, but it seems like black has kind of gotten what they want out of the opening here. This knight is so strong, just completely tearing apart white structure here. And unfortunately, this knight is pretty misplaced. If you go h7, it's going to take 3 more moves to even deliver a check to this king. So that knight, yes, it's blocking this queen, but it's not really actually putting much pressure on this black king here. Oh my gosh. No way. Is that really the right idea? Is there no queen f8 there? I don't know what the time control was for this game. I think the other one's time control was attached and some other stuff maybe, so bishop e7 is a very logical move. King h5. I don't know why this move doesn't work, because there's obviously no h7, then you just go queen h6. And queen f8, like you could go back, but then there would be queen f7, I think. I think queen f8 is mate. I could be wrong. I'm not allowed to check the computer, but I don't see a way to really stop this. So, seems like a missed opportunity for black. I'm not sure what he thought he had. Another move. Actually, I think queen f8 still wins here because you're threatening this pawn. So if king h7, you just take. So after queen f8, you have to go h7, and then there's queen g7 there. And the king is cut off from these two squares. Yeah, queen f8, and if h7, queen g7, and the king's got to retreat. So these last two moves make me a little weary of the black player, just because, unless this is like a meme game where black is now just wanting to go for this, but yeah, black completely lost there. But before that, this was a very high quality game. Not sure if I'm going to see anything here that's going to change my mind too much. It seems like this game goes on for a bit longer here. So white's up a pawn. White should be the only one playing for a win, but if you're white here, it doesn't seem like there's any way to make progress with this king stuck in the corner. As long as black keeps their rook on the board, there should be no way. Oh, wow, this is actually really interesting. Wow. Oh, wow, and the idea is... The idea is if you move your rook away, then there's like king h5 there. Like obviously, if you move your rook g7, there's queen g8 mate. Rook f6. Wait. Rook f6, this is a draw. Oh no, wait, I'm thinking about standard chess. I don't know what I'm thinking. It's just like, this is like a position you'd see in standard, so I was just thinking that the king can't move to g7, but... And if rook a7, I'm guessing the idea is something like king h5, and if you try to run with king g7, then at the very least you can get a second queen here, and surely the two queens eventually will be able to trap the rook. It's a weird time to resign. It just says white wins, it doesn't say that he resigned. Okay, so I guess I have to make a guess. Yeah, so I mean, looking at that opening, it was very well played in the opening. h5 is definitely a high level move. I mean, as white, like, obviously hindsight's 20/20, but like e4 is a move that I would always play here. You always kind of want to open up this bishop in these lines where you have this knight on c7, the king's gone to f8. This is a very common line in a lot of atomic openings, and generally I try to get d4 and e4 as soon as possible. Like sometimes there's some fears of e5 here, but this can also be a weakening move because then there's some ideas of knight e6 later on. For instance, takes, you would have like queen g4 hitting g7, and if bishop takes, it's actually literally just mate. The king can't go to any of these squares because the knight is going to explode no matter what. And like say you push this g pawn, Actually, there's a cleaner way to go about it. You could start with knight e6, and again, the king can't go to any of these squares, so you have to go bishop takes, and then queen g4, push the g pawn, and now queen e6. It's actually the other way. Maybe isn't slightly forced mate. So, yeah, so that's just one idea. Like, if black were to go for e5, and if they don't go for e5, like, now you're threatening to take this knight. You're also cutting off the f5 square. You don't have to take it immediately if you're worried about some rook lift. So g4 is a bit suspect as well. It's definitely a mistake, I'm sure, according to the computer, because after this, like, f3 is pretty forced, and then black just had a good position after that. But in the opening, there was h5 that was really strong for black, but then later on, black really messed up, allowing this king march. Like, 2 moves in a row, queen f8 was completely winning. The fact that the game went on for so long makes me think that the black player was, must have had a lot of time at this point. So this could also just be a meme game between, like, 2 really strong players. But generally, with the way that the opening played out, it's hard for me to see this game being between 2 lower rated players. And even this move, like f3, like, noticing that knight g4 is a threat. Like, rook f2 is a pretty impressive move to make as well. Just kind of a prophylactic move to stop the sting of knight g3, and then allow yourself to play queen e1 instead of having to play rook f2 after knight g3. So, like in general, like, a tempting move here may be e4, but then, yeah, there's knight g3, and if rook f2, then knight e2. And yeah, there's no king h1 actually because of the knight. There's no king h2 because the rook. So, like, rook f2 is a pretty high level move as well. So all in all, there's some obvious mistakes here, but the level seems really high. So I'm just gonna guess. It seems like black played slightly better. They just missed this idea of queen f8. That was my main gripe for black. But h5 seems like a strong move. So I'm going to go 2,400 for black. And I'll say 2,300 for white. Yeah, I'm trying to get within 600 points total for each game here. So let's see what it is. Okay. Wow, this was from the Atomic Chess League Season 1? In a 3-2 game. That makes sense because it went really long. What a good choice. What a good game. So it's between Reechester and Rabbit Knight. Holy moly. Wow. That's insane. No way, dude. What in the world is this? I've never seen anything like this. They had a combined 42 blunders. Holy moly, my. What in the world? Okay, let's see. Was Queen f8 mate here? Yeah, Queen f8. I'm kind of scared to turn on the computer because I feel it's... Okay, but I guess it's starting to make sense now. There was an increment, but he was already on 5 seconds here. So he didn't see it. Like, this is a pretty logical move. And then again, I think Queen f8 was mate here, I would think. Wait, why is Queen f8 not mate here? Oh, King g7. I'm stupid. I don't know why I didn't see that. Okay. 40. What in the world? How's that even possible? So for the longest time, both players should have been playing Queen g7. Oh my gosh. So white just had Queen g7 a bunch of moves in a row. Oh my gosh, dude. This is so funny. The funny thing is I kind of skipped past this part too. Oh my gosh. 42 blunders. What in the world, dude? That's so funny. Like, it wasn't too low quality of a game either. Like, obviously, especially in the opening. Okay, I did say bishop a6 was weird. But I also would have never found a3. What else does the computer say? Yeah, like, these moves are more normal. Like, a3, I don't even really understand the idea behind a3 because you're never going to take here in these types of positions. I mean, occasionally you will, but... Like, yeah, a d4. Yeah, d4 I would definitely... Yeah, now that I'm thinking of it. Bishop a6. Don't see it anywhere on here. That is insane, dude. Holy moly. So the good news is, if I get out my handy dandy calculator here, for the black side, we guessed 2,400. We were 130 points off. And the white side would have been 56 off. So in total, we were only 186 points off. So maybe this is actually going to be easier than I thought. Maybe I ended up making it too easy on myself. But we weren't even close to getting to 600. But what a good first game to look at there. I still can't believe. That was just so shocking that there was. Again, I kind of went through that part fast where they kept blundering over and over again. But what a great game. I kind of thought it was some kind of meme game, but it was actually from Atomic Chess League, which is really funny because that's like the most serious game you can get. And it was 3-2 time control, which is the fastest time control. So, okay. Or sorry, the slowest that we'll have today. This says 180 plus 1, but it's really 3 plus 1. And immediately my mind jumps to a couple things. I mean, I run my tournaments with 3 plus 1, but also the AWC was run 3 plus 1 this year. So I'm kind of thinking that this could be from AWC. Okay, I was about to say this could be my opening with E3, but I don't think I've ever played A4 here before, so I don't think this is my game. It'd be a little cheeky to throw in one of my games, considering I'd probably, hopefully, recognize it. But yeah, this could be from the Atomic World Championship. This was submitted by Opabenia, by the way. Okay, but this is all book here. Yeah, this bishop d3 idea, if you take, there's queen h5, g6, queen d5 with a double attack here. So you can't take, and you really don't want to go g6 because then there's take. So you go f5, but then there's this idea, queen h5, queen g5. So this is book, and then afterwards, what I normally play is knight f3. Yeah, and we see it here. Although, in the line that I play, these pawns haven't been moved yet. But this hasn't changed too much because normally I go like knight f3 and then say g5. I guess h6 actually makes a lot of sense here too, but normally it's g5 and then something like a4, a5 anyway. So there you go. After g5, it ends up transposing. I never go for this idea of h4. I'm curious to see what the computer says after the game. I normally take here in these positions and then go for some sort of piece activation on the queen side. But h4 I like, and already I can tell this is a very high level game. Maybe I made this challenge too easy on myself because seeing the clocks as well and knowing that this is preparation, this is obviously a very high level game. Yeah, and here we go. Sitting knight c3 and takes. This is very similar to something that I would do. Interesting. Rook takes a5. Maybe I'll change it to, I want to look at how far off again I was on that first one, 186. Maybe I'll change it to, I'll probably end up only looking at 3 games here. So Wolframs was the first one, then Opabenia submitted this one, and Randoom Player or Asphalt submitted the last one that we'll go over. So maybe I'll change it to whichever one I'm most off by will be the one that gets double the server coins. Okay, interesting. Yeah, white's clearly winning this. So you can't submit your own games, so it's obviously not one of Opa's games. I'm curious why this game is so... This just seems like a standard high-level game, like a very high-level game. So I'm curious why he submitted this one. Also, I would have just like instantly played this move here. I'm curious why he didn't here. But I guess that's beside the point. But Rook A1, not really sure. Okay, it's tough to really say. Like, I can't have. I mean, I guess white seems to have played this better, but black seems to be very strong as well. Okay, yeah, G4 is a high-level move because It seems like when you played g4, you already had the idea of castling and getting on h1, and that your king was going to be safe there. That also takes some guts. Oh, king h2. Yeah, overall, this seems like a very high-level game. I don't see any, like, huge mistakes from either player. Judging based off of the opening, I don't really know who plays this. It's obviously someone that knows the book behind this. If I think it's somebody from the AWC this year, some potential people that could have played this opening, maybe Vlad played this. I mean, Nas and Natso can play anything, so they jump to mind. I don't, obviously, yeah, this wasn't Opa's game. Max surely wouldn't have played this. I'm trying to think of who else. Rechester, I don't think so. Halland, I don't think so. Who else were some top players that made it? Chris Rapid maybe played this. I'm just going to do a safe guess of 2400 for white. And I guess I'll do 2350 for black, but it's really tough to separate these two players. I'm looking at this game and I don't really notice any huge mistakes from either player. Like d5 is way better than c6 in these types of positions. It's very, like, I just had this position multiple times today. It's a position really similar to this in this exact line, where black is, you've already got your pieces out because you went back to f3 and then you're getting this knight out. You want to go b3 and bishop a3 maybe. And, black ends up, the best strategy for black is to build this wall of pawns here and to try to stop white from breaking through. I would have never played rook takes a5 here. I probably would have just gone bishop takes. But white played it and then ended up getting like a really good position. Maybe he was already thinking ahead here. I guess not playing h6 is a bit strange. There's knight h4. I don't know. I guess it doesn't matter too much. Yeah, I'm going to say white 2400 and black 2350. Let's look and see here. Whoa. Fettuccine versus Wolfram. In my Atomic Theory arena. Wow. That is very unexpected. Fettuccine, who's a 2100 rated. That is very strange. I kind of want to look at this and see if this is what he plays. I guess he just knows this opening really well. But did he just start playing it since my video on, because I made a video on this exact line. Now I'm curious. So I made the video. Wait, yeah, this is about right, in January. Okay, I just want to see. So let's go, bear with me here. I would have made the video maybe around December. Okay, so he had this in 229 games since I made the video. And now let's see. I already forgot what the number was. No, okay, he played this, but then let's see how many times. Did he used to go for knight f5? No, he still does this. Okay, so maybe I'm not as much of a pioneer as I thought here. I was just curious if he just started playing it because of my video or not. But he goes for this move a4. I never play a4. I always go e3 here. But it has a good win rate. I kind of want to look into this. Looks like he still does sometimes go for e3. Yeah, I'm kind of curious to look into a4 now. But I ended up transposing into a line that I've had a bunch anyway. But I'm very impressed by this game. Yeah, and I did say rook takes a5 I would have never played. That was the one move from white that I was a bit, like, wasn't sure about. But then he followed it up with some pretty incredible play. I mean, no moves that either player made was really that confusing. Like g4 was such a good move. And then obviously castles. I guess this was one of those positions that once he got out of the opening, it kind of played itself. But he did have to find some impressive moves as well. Well, good submission, because especially with the time control, I thought for sure that this was from the AWC, but it ended up being from one of my arenas. And I did say that those are the two tournaments. Oh, and look, even that, I said Rook A1, I would have never played. I would have gone for Bishop F6, which maybe wasn't much better. Rook A1 actually loses your advantage quite a bit, but it's still probably completely winning. Yeah, okay, never mind. Interesting, mate in 4 here. Okay, so I was way off on that one. So I said 2,400 for Fettuccini. So I would have been 289 points off of that one. And then 2,350 for Wolfram, but he was actually 2,435. So 80 points off of, 85 points off of that one. Leaves us with 374. So Opabenia is in the lead right now. And what a great submission, because I felt Fettuccini played really well. I just would have never guessed that the player with the white pieces was rated 2,100. So, okay. Then we have 13 games from Random Player. Shout out the homeboy. Let's just do a random number generator. I don't know like if he did troll ones at the beginning or whatever. So let's just do 1 through 13. 8. All right. So let's go to number 8. And, oh, we got to take out the database. Okay. So he said we can look at this stuff. So it's O+2. It was on Lichess. And it was just a rated atomic game. Oh, wow. And it even gives us the date. The 22nd of January of this year. O+2. Off the top of my head, I don't know how to pronounce it, but Legionor always has offers out for O+2. And he's rated roughly 2,200. Does he play 2 knights, though? I'm trying to remember what he normally plays against me. I don't think he does. I don't think he plays 2 knights. Don't remember what it is, but I don't think it's 2 knights. Okay, here we go with my line. Starting with d6, though. Obviously, this is not my game because I would have not started with d6. But I would have played e5. And bishop g5 is the best response here. Yeah, and then I think queen e2 is the only move for white because black is threatening to take here with check and with a mate threat on f2. So you have to respond to the check, and then you get mated here. So queen e2 is the only way to stop this threat. Just pinning this pawn. Although, I guess there's... Wait. Okay, this isn't quite... I'm thinking of like a different line. Bishop g5. Wait. It's actually quite tricky for white to play this after queen b6. I think queen e2 is the only move, but it's not a very intuitive move because after takes there's now king d1. That's the main idea behind the move, I guess. But it seems like you should be crushing, but then there's rook f1 there. And there's no way to stop this. Interesting. The only thing I see here is, like, is there any way for black to hold a draw here? And say after d5, the black king can always, like, run between these squares. So say something like this. Maybe you throw in c3 and then go for king e2, rook f1. I don't know. It's strange. I'll have to look at that with the computer. But 93 makes a lot of sense. Keep in mind this is all in an O+2 game. Okay, black's done quite well here. This line for black is so good because there's so many traps and stuff. Knight f6 was a weird move. I will admit, this is a terrible blunder because white is, rook h5 is actually a pretty bad move too, because you're just not threatening anything here. Unless I'm missing something, but I don't understand the idea behind rook h5 at all. Yeah, black should definitely win this, but knight f6 kind of throws that away. I mean, like, if you go, say, knight e5, you're threatening this two ways. So, like, say, white takes here, then you just take with the bishop. So then white would be forced to move back, and then you'd have something like knight f3 with potential for a nasty e3. Like, black should be completely winning this position, I think. Even this move, like, white maybe had some ideas of takes. I don't know. The opening was obviously really well played, I think, but now I'm not so sure. It looks like black is still gonna win this. Okay, interesting. This one's tricky because, like, this move d6 followed by knight f5. This is a really uncommon sideline. You know, normally you would see pawn to d5 here. So the opening has me thinking these players are strong, and then taking on h7 is very smart. It seems to all be prepped for black too. Taking on h7 is the best move. e5 is in the best move, which is still in prep, and then bishop g5 I thought was the best move, although queen b6 maybe not. But then there's a question of what is the best move for white. Yeah, this line is so tricky. Like, if you're white here, what do you even do? But knight takes h7 is one of the main ideas in this whole line, because knight f7 loses to queen b6 for the reason that we just saw. But the reason why knight takes h7 is supposed to work. Maybe you're supposed to take this here. I really don't know. Okay, anyway. The openings seem to be pretty high level, but then there's a lot of mistakes made there at the end. This is actually really tricky for the player with the black pieces, and then, like, they had so much time there at the end too. Like, knight f6 is just such a bad move, to be honest. I'm sorry. I would have never considered this move. And yeah, like I said, even bishop takes makes some sense. Rook h5 doesn't make any sense. I mean, you're technically threatening to take this pawn, but if you do, I mean, like, one simple way is like this and this. Like, say black makes a nothing move, takes knight e5 with the threat of knight g6. You take, and now black can just take. Okay, I'm gonna say, for the player with the white pieces, I'm going to say 1900. And then I'm going to guess the player with the black pieces is that Lei Janor guy, whatever his name is. And last time I played him, he was 2200. So I'm going to say like 2180, because I think he's gone up a little bit lately. So yeah, I already forgot what I said for the white pieces with 1900 and 1950. I'll say like 1950 for the player with the white pieces and like 2180 for the player with the black pieces. Quasi, wow, okay, but we still may not be too far off. Would you look at that? Wow, I actually clicked on this one. 1990 versus 2248. Okay, that makes sense. And I didn't realize Quasi was playing this line against two knights. So this for sure doesn't beat Opa's, but let's just see. So I said 1950, so we were 40 points off there. And then I guessed 2180. So that's 68 there, plus the 40. So 108. So it's only 108 total off, which means for the first one, it was 186. The second one, I was 374 points off. And then this one, I was a combined 108. So I'm pretty happy about this one. It was two kind of mid-rangey players. Obviously, Quasi is a bit stronger than this. But, I actually really curious what you're supposed to do here. So obviously knight takes h7 is one of the main moves. e5. Okay, it's not bishop g5. There's a line where bishop g5 is the main move, even though it looks weird. But it's simply not that line, I guess. Interesting. I've been playing this move e5 a lot more lately. Okay, queen e2 was the only move to open up king d1. Wow, interesting. Okay. I wonder if we can get a game report on this one as well. I'm curious to see. Okay, no. Yeah, at the end there, I'm curious about what I said about this as well. Yeah, just no reason for rook h5. Oh yeah, knight takes f8 is the simplest because after it takes, you have bishop g4. But then you play knight f6, and he just like completely threw away his advantage there. So yeah, that's kind of what tipped me off. The opening seemed to be pretty high level, but this is kind of what tipped me off there. But anyway, so our winner for round 1 of the Guess the Elo is Opabinia. Congratulations. So I'm constantly taking submissions in my Discord server, so feel free to send some in there. I think 3 worked pretty well. We're over 30 minutes here, which is a bit longer than I like for a fun video like this. But maybe in the future I can try to speed it up a little bit. But yeah, I think I'll try to do 3 every time, and maybe kind of the same format of whichever one I'm off the most. We'll just get double the normal server coins that you can get for helping out with a video. But yeah, this was super fun. Like, all 3 games were pretty tricky. I mean, the one that was the most surprising was definitely the second one. I was the most off by it, but I felt all 3 submissions I looked at here were pretty cool. I mean, I didn't realize there was a game from ACL season 1, which is pretty cool. And then that last game I felt like was just a good Guess the Elo game. It was a good one to add. It was of 2 players that are, relatively strong, that played well in the opening, but then they had some pretty noticeable mistakes here at the end. So yeah, all in all, I was happy with all 3 submissions, and please do go, and I guess you don't really have to do it through the Discord server. If you want to just invite me to your study on Lichess, then there's a chance that your Guess the Elo will be featured in a future video. But with that, I'm going to head out. Thank you guys for watching this video. Thank you for all the support, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace out.